Good evening. Call the Washington County Quorum Court meeting to order. The judge is not here this evening, so he's asked me to kick off the meeting, and the first order of business will be to vote for a chair of the meeting. J.P. Deakins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that you, J.P. Sam Duncan, continue to preside over the meeting tonight.
Second.
Have a motion from J.P. Deakins and a second from J.P. Dennis. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And there's a motion to be accepted by acclamation, a second by J.P. Ecke. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. For the prayer and pledge this evening, we've asked J.P. Jim Wilson to lead us. J.P. Wilson.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the country that we live in. We thank you for the many blessings that you bestowed upon us just by being Americans. Lord, we just pray for your guidance as we deliberate our business tonight. Show us your will in each thing. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, J.P. Wilson. Item number 3 on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. Do we have any amendments to the agenda?
I do, Judge.
J.P. Ecke.
Thank you. I would like to add just a brief comment from the AAC conference that we had on April 9th, right after the judge's report. Just one item, and the rest I'll email to Ms. Collins to get the information. Some good things are happening.
Do I hear a second? All those in favor of adding a brief comment after the county judge's report by J.P. Ecke, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you, Judge.
And I have another one by J.P. Lemming.
I'd like to move item 13 up to around item 9, before item 9.
There is a motion by J.P. Lemming to move item number 13 up to item number 9, and a second by J.P. Wilson. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The amendment carries. I see one more, J.P. Deakins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to add item 22-0-050. It's an ordinance that was emailed out to the JPs today. You also should have a hard copy in front of you. It's for some time-sensitive equipment the sheriff's office needs to move on.
Second.
And J.P. Deakins has a motion, second by J.P. Ecke, to add the item that was emailed previously, and we'll make that item number 16 if it passes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the amendment passes. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved. Second.
A motion by J.P. Deakins to approve the agenda as amended, and a second by J.P. Lemming. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The agenda has been passed.
Do we have any on the consent agenda?
There is a consent agenda, yes?
It's been adopted.
Yes. Item number 4 is preliminary motions. Are there any preliminary motions this evening? J.P. Deakins?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that we read ordinances and resolutions by title only.
There's a motion by J.P. Deakins to read ordinances and resolutions by title only, second by J.P. Lemming. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Preliminary motion passes. Moving on to item number 5, citizen comments. County ordinance allows for 15 minutes of comments, 3 minutes per person. Please come to the podium, state your name and where you're from.
Yeah, I'm Richard Tiffany. I live in Fayetteville, just down the hill here. Being Judge Wood is not here, I'll skip the discussion about his violation of federal law today, but there's a couple other things that need to be dealt with. The first is the online communication system with people in the county jail is pretty much non-functional. Over the 2 weeks prior to April 7th, I made 6 calls in through the jail ATM. Not once was I able to be heard by the person I was calling, and only once was I able to hear them, and it was so broken up, it was like every other syllable was missing during the whole call. People are charged for this service when you are expected to pay for a service that's not being rendered because it's non-functional. It's a lot like stealing, and I really think that the Quorum Court needs to check into this. I've been up to the county jail 3 times to talk to Tim Helder. I was told each time that he wasn't there. I've also called in a couple of times and told he wasn't there, and have left my name and number, and he has not called me back about this. The other thing that I would like to bring to the attention of the Quorum Court is that there's been some editing of the Quorum Court meetings. I know in particular that my comments during the December regular Quorum Court meeting have been removed from the YouTube Quorum Court page, and there's another Monique Jones had some comments about wanting to get some funds to help with the St. James food pantry, and I don't remember exactly when that was. I think it was before the December meeting, but that's also missing, and I think just people should be aware that things that somebody doesn't want the general public to hear about has been removed from the video of the meetings. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Tiffany. Public comments.
Good evening. Sorry, this is probably rude. This is a little story time. I'll try to keep it as short as I can. In fact, I didn't get a chance to finish writing it out, so it is going to be short. In 2005, Assessor Leanne Kazar gave a native Californian a job within her office that would span to a 17-year career with the county. She not only gave me a job, she gave me a family. And as the years went by, like a family, some of us family members grow faster than others, and then we get emancipated before we're ready to leave the nest. And then we kind of flounder for a few weeks. However, I wasn't allowed to flounder for long because someone reached out to me and said, hey, we have a hole in our family, and we think that you might be a good fit for it. And so I joined the planning department, and they became my family for the past 5 years. And we have grown, and we have survived COVID and everything else together, and it has been such a wonderful experience to work with my planning family. And we use the word family because I feel that we go beyond a team. We've just been through so much together. And so again, that's where I've been for the past 5 years. And at some point, you realize that you're ready to leave the nest and to grow professionally and emotionally. And so I'd like to say thank you for the past 17 years. And I know a lot of you haven't been with me for the full 17 years, but some of you have. And it has been amazing to watch Eva, JP Madison, not give up. And it has been amazing to watch JP Ecke start her, can you say being a JP is a career or your advocacy? And to show me that just because you are forgive me, female, and you have a soft voice, it doesn't mean that you're weak. You can be strong, and you can be feminine, and you can speak with your soft voice and be loud enough to make a difference. And to everyone else, thank you so much for not giving up in what you believe in. I think sometimes that's why we have issues with our political systems, because everyone believes that they're right, and everyone is right, and no one is wrong. And then it's all about compromise. Tomorrow's my last day with the county, and that's why I wanted to come and just say thank you on public record, because I've been pretty quiet about it because it's been kind of emotional. But thank you again, and I hope to see a lot of you soon, maybe in a few months or so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Josh Moody, Fayetteville, Arkansas. While running for county judge these last few months, I've had a lot of good conversations with real people here in the county about real issues, many of whom wouldn't typically vote for somebody with a D behind their name, but it sounds like they are now. And not only that, but they're proud supporters. And it's based on action. It's based on intention. It's based on being proactive. Some things that I've seen over the years that have been frustrating, ADA access. It's my understanding that at least at the Public Defender's Office and possibly other places, it still has not been resolved. And that's been a complaint for well over a year, maybe even longer. The nonprofit application process for NGOs to apply for COVID relief funds, it seems like that's a non-starter. Our neighbors to the north have been able to go through with that process seemingly pretty swimmingly. And, you know, it goes to show what can happen when partisan politics don't get in the way or is not part of the process. So I hope that we can learn from that and maybe move forward together. The radio dispatch situation for emergency personnel in the county, it's my understanding that even though it was supposed to, it could have and should have been completed about a year ago, and after we've collected millions of dollars, as of now, it still won't be done until summer of next year. Came to light last night, situation with deeds dealing with the county, where deeds that have been with families since 1949 are now basically were given to other people under falsified documentation, and the county has just swept that under the rug and doesn't want to deal with it, doesn't want to resolve it. Not to mention the latest thing, the ERA whole situation. That could have been resolved last week, and many members of this body chose not to do anything about that, and that's very frustrating. I'm glad that, you know, money has come in. It's a great update, and that will plug the gap for at least this month. But what about next month? I will say, among all those things, I am excited that there is some movement on the roads department. I think it's well deserved, but I think even that, had that started a couple of years ago, it seems like we wouldn't be necessarily be in the same situation that we are right now with the roads department, and not to mention probably could have saved money overall by not having to contract it work out. So let's please start working together. Please start finding solutions for all of the people in the county. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Justice of the Peace. My name is Brandon Melton. My wife and I live in Springdale in District 5. Last month, my wife gave a statement and let the court know about a construction business or businesses that are using their property as a truck depot for heavy equipment and construction supplies in a residential agricultural zoned area without a COP. Again, the name of these businesses are J&J Concrete Pumping and High Star Construction. As of today, these activities have not stopped, but from what we know, the planning department has sent them numerous letters, emails, and phone calls starting back in January, asking them to contact their offices and discuss the need for a CUP, but they have not responded. Approximately 2 weeks ago, a cease and desist was mailed to the landowners and the business owners but they have not stopped their activity. Clearly, these businesses have no regard for their community, no regard for the court's authority, or the processes or permits that are required to carry on commercial activities in those areas. We are thankful for the Planning Department's office and Mr. Lester's office for the assistance in doing what they can to rectify this matter. Our statement today is so that we can be on record and that the record can reflect that these individuals' record of noncompliance and outright refusal to follow the Planning Department's requests should they decide to attempt to gain a CUP in the future. Surely their actions to this point show that they have a difficult time conforming to laws and procedures, and we hope this will be taken into consideration should they eventually decide to ask the court for special consideration for these businesses. Thank you for hearing our concerns on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Milton. Any other public comment?
Hi, Sarah Moore of Fayetteville, Arkansas. I know it's not on the agenda tonight, and there was a mention of it previously, but I wanted to go back on the emergency rental assistance. I am thankful that, unfortunately, I know the federal government had delayed in sending the $3.4 million, and I understand that we've gotten a partial amount of that, and so we'll be able to give some relief to some households. However, I would ask, and there was an opportunity in a committee meeting that was held recently to have a full discussion. I think it's really important that when we do have something that doesn't go smoothly, when we have an imperfection in process, that we do pause and we reflect to say, you know, what happened to cause the disruption, to cause that imperfection, so that we can make sure that that doesn't happen in the future. And in this instance, this is households who didn't get a rental assistance that were approved, that they were expecting that this assistance would go to their landlords. And so if they had any funds, they potentially paid past due utilities or car payments. And so suddenly a lot of landlords came to individuals on April 1st asking for March and April rent payments, which oftentimes were $1,600, $2,000, $3,000. Unfortunately, what that caused many times was an eviction process to start. So despite that money coming into our coffers and now able to go out, there are individuals who have faced eviction despite that money now coming in. And so we did cause anxiety, harm, loss of housing for those individuals, unfortunately. And so while we've seen some numbers come out in the most recent letter, and I do appreciate that about how many individuals were approved and the letters that went out, it would be really nice if the county could publicly speak with the community to let us know how many households will be served with the current money that we have, how long that will last, and how we're going to serve the additional households with the additional monies that we're expecting to come in. I'd really appreciate seeing that on a future agenda session, either of the full quorum court or one of the committees. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Seeing no other public comment, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. The minutes were emailed out with the agenda packet. Are there any corrections? If there are no corrections, the minutes are approved. Any corrections? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. Moving on to item number 7, County Judge's Report. You have a disposal of the county property report in your packet, and the judge has asked us to approve his appointment to the Board of Equalization. Mrs. Crystal McNaughton has served 1 term and is willing to continue her service, and I will entertain a motion to approve Mrs. Crystal McNaughton to the Board of Equalization. Do I hear a motion? I have a motion by J.P. Ecke. Do I hear a second? Second by J.P. Dennis. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, Mrs. Crystal McNaughton has been approved. We'll move on to J.P. Ecke's added comments to the agenda here. Oops.
Thank you, Justice. last Saturday, well, April 9th, we had our annual AAC conference for Quorum Court members in Little Rock. There was a lot of information, but what two things I'm most excited about is that in 2022, they're going to raise the jail per inmate from $32 to $40 per inmate. And just a little bit of history on that. In 2015, they raised it to $28, which is way below the $64, $62 that it costs every day. And then they raised it to $32 in 2021, and now they're raising it to $40. We're narrowing the gap, and apparently there's enough Quorum Court members that are yelling from our top of our lungs, and the legislatures are finally listening and paying their fair share. The other thing I will say is the opioid settlement that our Attorney General has been able to do, and because she did it the way she did it, we're going to benefit for the next 20 years, and I'm excited about that. But I will email that information out to Ms. Collins, and she can send it out to everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you, JP Ecke. Item number 8 on the agenda is an ordinance denying a conditional use permit recommendation for denial by the Planning and Zoning Board. This ordinance is on the second reading. It will go into next month's Quorum Court meeting unless there is a motion to move it to the third and final reading. So seeing no action on that, we will move on. The next item on the agenda is 13 that was moved up to item number 9, and bear with me. Council, would you read that by title only, please?
An ordinance adopting and establishing the County Road Department's salary administration program in the County Road Department budget for 2022 and appropriating the total amount of $707,347.49 from the unappropriated reserves in the road fund to various line items in the Road Department budget for 2022.
Do I see a motion on this one? JP Ecke.
Yes, thank you. Back in 2021, when I was elected personnel chairman, we set out objectives to bring about change in the pay structure and to bring it up from 2016 values to 2021 values. And we did that successfully in a very positive way. We were able to eliminate the negative issues that had kept personnel back or the pay rate going forward. And through collaboration, we passed that. I shared with the Roads Department that in 2022, they specifically were going to be our focus. Although we tried to get this done back in October, November, just so many other issues came up, and I thank you for the phone calls that you gave us and you shared with everybody. But now what we're doing is we're bringing effective change to the Roads Department. And the template that Director Crowder brought forward, I think is excellent. Anytime we use the military, the Air Force as a template, it's successful. It's successful for everybody. And I think now is the time for you gentlemen and women that work at the Roads Department are recognized as an important component to the success of this county. Without you, this county would not be successful. And we recognize that. And so I make a motion to pass this ordinance.
There's a motion to pass item number 13.1 and a second by JP Dennis. Now I'll open up for discussion. JP Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The ordinance in our packet says that there's an exhibit that is actually the substance of what we're passing, and it's not there. So we don't have before us what we're actually voting on.
Ms. Myers going to pull it up on the screen.
I think what we're being asked, the substance of what we're being asked should have been in the agenda packet that was published. So, I mean, well, some of us aren't on finance and budget.
But
so.
it was emailed.
It was emailed to you.
Yeah.
Well, was it provided, was it published for the public that it would be on the agenda tonight?
It's been on all the public agendas for all the meetings that we've had so far, and it's been on several committee meetings.
Was it on the agenda for tonight that was published tonight? I don't think it was. Well, while we're working that out, I also understand that we were expecting an amendment to try to figure out how we were transitioning, because the chairman of the budget committee said that they would be doing away with the COVID bonuses to transition to these bonuses or these new pay structure. And so I know JP Wilson had asked about that transition, and that's not been done. So I don't understand we're being asked to do something that there's no mechanics for how it's going to be implemented. Anyway, well, I'm going to say what I said in committee. I have been a supporter of giving the road department raises for a long time. This has been a long time coming, but I do not understand how we can adopt a program that dramatically changes the threshold requirements for getting into positions. It has a test that is part of the process. And none of that has been gone through any type of personnel review or legal review. And there are employment discrimination laws that say that you cannot put a test in place for a threshold for pay or a job without validating that test. So we're going to be asking the employees in our road department to to pass a test to get a raise that we just made up that has not been actually legitimately tied to performance on the job. And so I don't understand why we're in such a hurry. We don't know, we all know that they're due for raises, but we gave them the COVID bonuses while we had time to figure this out. And it seems like we're in such a hurry to do this, perhaps before the primary election, when we don't actually know how we're going to be able to implement it. We don't know how we're going to transition from the current bonuses to the new pay structure. I'm also a little troubled that we published a document in committee that showed every individual name of the road department with their pay next to it. I mean, I know people's pay is public, but you have to know what job they're in. And I was shocked to see that the names. But if you look at some of those names, you will see that long time, decades-long employees at the road department are getting very small increases, where new employees are getting very large increases, which was really not what we were trying to do. We were trying to bring up the bottom and especially reward longevity. And so it just seems like we've really been in a rush to push this through and that we don't really know what's in it. And I've heard concerns. I know the road department people want money, and I see them here tonight, and they deserve more money. But what I've heard from people is that they're really afraid to speak out about any concerns about this problem, or this new program, for fear of retaliation. That it's like they feel like this is the only way they can get more money, and if they speak out against this, they're going to be in some kind of trouble. So my vote tonight is going to be to abstain, because I fully support the raises, but we cannot adopt a comprehensive job structure without ensuring that it is legally defensible. And what's concerning to me is when I first made those comments, people were really glad I'd made them. I'm an employment lawyer. This is what I do for a living, and I tried to be very clear that this was not political advice. This was legal advice. And people seemed very grateful to hear that and to know that and were surprised, but yet those are the same people that seem to be pushing this through. It's not okay to just say no system is perfect. We are being reckless in adopting a program that we have not vetted, that we don't know is defensible. It's not okay to just say, it might not be perfect. We've got to make sure this is legally defensible and this is the right thing to do for our employees, that it's fair to them. And just waving more money in front of them and saying this is the right thing, that worries me. I think we're leading you astray. I don't want you guys to have to take a test that is meaningless if it has no connection to your job. I just really want you to get more money. Thanks.
JP Deacons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I need to make a motion to amend this ordinance. I apologize, the wording wasn't sent out ahead of time, but I'd like to make a motion to add an Article 6 that reads, that upon passage and implementation of this ordinance, Ordinance 21-120 shall be repealed and any additional payments under said ordinance shall cease. That would mean that we would end the incentive pay that we had implemented as a bridge under the ARPA plan once this gets implemented. I believe there's some flexibility in that language because we know this is going to take a while to come in. My first idea was to have it date certain, but I think this gives us some flexibility to make sure that we don't end one without the other one being fully implemented. So, like I said, I'd like to make a motion to amend.
There's a motion to amend by JP Deacons to remove incentive pay with the implementation of this program, and a second by JP Ecke. And we'll go ahead and vote on the amendment, and then we'll vote on the original motion after that. I don't have to have public comment or anything on the motion. Will you call the roll on this one, please? And this is on the amendment.
Shannon Marty. Yes. Sean Simons. Yes. Bill Usry. Yes. Patrick Deacons. Yes. Lisa Ecke. Yes. Sam Duncan. Yes. Chandra Washington. Yes. Eva Madison. Yes. Robert Dennis. Yes. Suki Hires. Yes. Evelyn Rio Stafford. Yes. Willie Lemming. No way. Jim Wilson. Yes. Butch Pond. Yes. 10 pass. Lance, I'm sorry, Lance Johnson, I'm sorry.
And a bonus vote, Lance Johnson. The amendment passes, and that was an amendment to remove incentive pay when this program is implemented. Now we can continue discussion on the original motion if there is any. JP Lemming.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I've done a lot of studying, a lot of scribbling, and a lot of writing, and I've been for the young men and ladies that work at the county for 2 years to try to get the boys and girls and ladies off the bottom. I've been trying hard. And the COVID pay, we give it to them, we need to let them keep it. That's only fair because we've got everybody else doing the COVID pay a lot longer than we've given it to these folks. And these folks is the last ones to get it, they deserve it. They need to keep it. But I want to talk a little more about the pay that you've got set up in this deal. I'll back up and say this. I think one of the most important jobs at the Washington County Road Department for the rural areas is the motor patrol operators. They need gravel to go with them, but the graders is the most important in the rural. All you hear in the rural is all I need is my dadgum road graded. You hear it every day, every day, every day. And that's what we need. We need to run them graders, as far as I'm concerned, 24/7, but we can't. But anyway, whenever you take a grader operator and you pay, in this program, 74 cents an hour, what good is that? You pay him 8 cents an hour, 23 cents an hour, 50 cents an hour, and finally you get a grader guy and you give him $2.23 an hour. You know, every grader guy out there needs to be making $25 to $30 an hour. I don't care. But then you go up here on your salary people that's outrunning the grader guys. There's $20,000 difference between a salary guy and a grader guy. There is no way in HELL that's fair to them guys. No way. But you take a grader, these office helps and your bosses, every one of them's close to 60 grand. And you go down here with the grader guys, they're making 34 to 40 at the max. There's no way that's fair. No way in HELL. We need to get away from that. And you've got an employee that I've known all my life that's been there 50 freaking years, and he's getting a 74-cent raise. So be it that he's getting old. So be it he shakes a little. So be it he can't see good. He used to have to drive a truck home. You take that benefit away from him. And you just basically want to tell him, go home and stay home because you ain't worth the crud. That's not true. He's a dedicated man. He's been here forever, and you're giving him 74 cents. That's a bunch of hockey. And it just goes on and on and on. I don't think our program is quite ready. I think the employees deserve everything they get. We need to get the bottom off the bottom. The top, I'm sorry, but as far as I'm concerned, you're making plenty. The bottom needs off the bottom. They need to make a living like everybody else, and we need to pay them. They're worth it. Thank you.
Any further discussion from the court? JP Deakins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to just say a couple things. First of all, as a body, we need to remember that we're not here to develop the salary administration. That's left up to the judge and his administration. It's for us to review it, get comfortable with it, and appropriate the money to do it. I would also say that I appreciate all the work that's been put into this, and I think it moves the ball in a huge way in the right direction for all of our men and women in the road department. Now, I think anybody is going to find fault with any plan we come up with, but I want everyone to know, and all the men and women that have showed up here tonight, that I think a lot of people have put a lot of thought into this, and we're doing what we think's best for you long term, and we're going to continue to evaluate this and look at it. But I think we could nitpick it and find fault at all times, and I trust the people that we have in our leadership, and I trust them to implement this. And I would appreciate all the justices coming together, and like I said, please move the ball in a big way in the right direction while we continue to look at the countywide. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, JP Deakins. JP Pond.
Yes, thank you. I got a question before I make any other statement. I have a question I'll ask Brian Lester, just to quelch a rumor. Is there any place in this plan where any employee is going to be making less than they did before the?
No.
There's going to be some, and there's going to be some increase for all. And I don't have a feeling that the HEOs will be compensated well enough from this. I'm still concerned that you're going to have some HEOs walk off the job. But that being said, if this is what has been provided, and there is some increase there, and this is a permanent increase as opposed to some COVID money that they've received, which is a temporary thing. We have people coming in here making comments every time we have a meeting that they're very disappointed that COVID money's it's running out, and it's never a good time for extra money coming in to run out. And unless some public comment or statement from road employees changes my mind, I'll be voting for this because it's more of a permanent thing that will increase as this program goes on. It's going to be better than, even though it's not what some of them maybe were planning on. It's better than what they had, and like I said, as the STEP program goes, it can be added to. I don't want to vote against some kind of pay increase for employees at the county. Thank you.
JP Washington, then JP Dennis, and then JP Lemming.
Thank you, JP Duncan. So I have a couple of questions. The first is, does the county have a protocol for positions that require a test? That seems to be coming up. It's been mentioned a couple of times. So does the county have some type of protocol as far as validating a test that people need to take in order to get a promotion or an increase in pay?
So the county's, our HR department has sent this off to their advisors, and then they will then, based on what they're told and what they do, they're the ones that are going to make sure that it's validated. Like I said when we presented this the first time. There will be no change from now till the end of the year because the money's been appropriated. So there will be time before we actually start utilizing the test that we will have that validated. If that means that we get a law firm or an employment law or employment agency to do that, that's what we'll do. But that has all been handed over to our HR department because that's in their lane.
Okay, so my follow-up question would be, so what happens if this passes, but then the test isn't validated? Then
we'll have to rewrite the test to the point that it is validated. And until then, nothing will happen.
okay, how long do you think that process would take?
I don't see any reason why that wouldn't happen between now and the end of the year.
Okay. And if I remember from the original discussion, and I don't have my notes with me, that it was mentioned that we would consider using a test from some vocational school or facility. Was that mentioned?
I believe so. I don't know the details. I think Mr. Crowder, our road superintendent, probably is the better person to talk about that.
Okay.
The answer to your question is yes. We're in talking with NWAC and a equipment school out of Harrison, and we've been looking at either having to send the employee over for testing at that school if this is implemented, or working with NWAC to handle the testing for the operators. So yes, we have been exploring outside avenues for the testing.
Okay, thank you. So if this is not necessarily something that we need to do immediately, would the body consider an amendment that we just table this until we get the results of that test? That seems to be an issue, and I really would hate for us not to pass something. We need to do something for our road department. We've been talking about it for years, but I would hate for it not to be passed because we don't know about that test. So I would like to offer an amendment that this be tabled until we receive the results of the validated test.
There's a motion to table by J.P. Washington, a second by J.P. Madison. Until the test is validated, is my understanding. Until the test would be validated.
Well, he doesn't, we don't have a time certain.
I think under Roberts, you're supposed to have something within 3 months unless you state otherwise. I just have to look. Give me a second. I think you can, so we often get two things. A motion to table technically is to take something, lay it on the table, and be brought back up at this meeting. So I think the proper motion is a motion to postpone, and a lot of times those are confused. The motion to postpone should go to some time, but I do believe that it can go, I believe that time can be until a certain action happens, so long that it happens within the time period of this body. So if it doesn't happen before the end of the year because this body changes, then it's basically, it's dead.
JP Washington.
Thank you. So I withdraw the previous amendment, and I would like to amend this to be postponed until we receive the results of the test validation.
So there's a motion to postpone until test results are validated by JP Washington, a second by JP Madison. And Ms. Meyer, will you please call the roll on this one?
Shannon Marty. Sean Simons. Bill Usry. Patrick Deakins. Lisa Ecke. Sam Duncan. Chandra Washington. Eva Madison. Robert Dennis. Suki Hires. Evelyn Rio Stafford. Willie Lemming. Jim Wilson. Butch Pont. And Lance Johnson.
The motion to postpone fails. Next up in discussion was JP Dennis. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll add to my comments a little bit why I did not vote for a postpone. When we do that, we cease all discussion. And this is the only time that we get to discuss. And so there's a lot of things I'd like to have cleared up now instead of waiting to get them cleared up. So just for anybody wants to know, well, why did he vote no? That's why. The Johansson Group, we put so much emphasis on what they have to say, and I haven't heard anything. Now, maybe it's out there and I missed it, but what has the Johansson Group said about this particular program?
This isn't something that we sent to the Johansson Group. This is outside the salary administration program that they administer, and that's why it's similar to that which was passed for the sheriff's office, which was taken out of the salary administration program. So this is not. It may have been discussed, but this was not something that we sent to them for their grading or approval or anything like that.
Okay, thank you. Is there other counties that do similar thing to this that we looked at?
I don't know to this extent. I think a lot of other places do it, are still just utilizing the system that we had in place before.
Right. Well, I suppose they'll be looking at us and seeing how it works out. Okay, that. I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
The floor is yours. JP Dennis, any other comments?
I guess another one that's on my mind is, I know that we had the COVID bonuses set up for them. Are they going to lose that? Or will they get that? Or will there be equal amount to replace that?
So there was an amendment that was just approved by the court to add that clause that the COVID bonuses would be removed whenever this program goes into effect. So they would not overlap. One would stop and the other one would begin.
Are they equal? Are they equal? Otherwise, am I giving up a $100 COVID bonus and getting a $50? Am I losing? Do the math for me. Am I losing or am I gaining?
You would the COVID bonus would probably be for some a little bit more than what we're doing now, but it will end, and most likely next month Bobby Hill has asked for us to bring an ordinance ending COVID bonuses for everybody at the recommendation that he's received. So that program will end for everybody in due time. This will be permanent moving forward, and so these changes would not change regardless of what happens with the COVID money. And I only bring that up because Bobby Hill talked to me about that end of last week.
Okay, I'm unclear then. They will or will not get the COVID?
They will not get the COVID.
And so then, okay, then we won't know what they will get until later.
Right, well, based on what has been presented, yes.
I just don't want anybody losing anything.
I don't think anybody's going to lose anything.
Well,
I mean, the COVID bonus was temporary.
I know it's temporary, but I don't want them to lose. is what I'm saying. So do the math for me. I heard someone in the audience say, yes, we do. So that concerns me that they've looked at it. I haven't looked at it specifically. Don't, just like to be clear on it. I don't want to vote yes for something that I think I'm doing a good job for the road department and find out that what I did was stabbed them in the back. So help me on the numbers.
Would a member of the court be interested in making a motion to amend to postpone the implementation of this program for when COVID pay is over? And so then this program is implemented once COVID pay is done.
Well, I'll yield. I still want the question answered. I just want to know if they're going to lose money or gain money. Thank you.
So to answer your question, if this program were to be implemented, then there's a possibility that they wouldn't make as much money without the COVID bonuses temporarily. Permanently, they're going to make, everyone in the road department will be making more money if this program is passed. The issue is, it's either, in the long run, no, they're going to make more money with the implementation of a new system. Now, there's nothing that prohibits you necessarily from ending the COVID bonus pay right now. That was just something that was suggested at a meeting, and I think that's why JP Deakins brought that up. That money has already been appropriated. And so in the end, there would be, if that ended, then there would be that money at the end of the year that would, would come back into the general fund. And so, it's kind of, it just depends on how you want to do it. Do you just want to do the COVID bonus pay and then we don't take care of upping the employees and we've done nothing that we promised? Or you do what you said, hey, this is what we want to do to pass a budget. There was a lot of discussion of that at the end of last year. So you can keep the COVID pay going along with this. There's nothing that prohibits that.
JP Lemming.
Brian, I guess this might be a question for you. The $707,347.49. What's that actually for?
That is to change the pay.
Well, because earlier you said it wasn't going to change nothing.
No.
Yeah, you did, but I don't know what you actually meant it wasn't going to change. You said it wasn't going to change nothing. You said that just a little bit ago.
No, every employee is going to get an increase in pay with this new system.
So the $707,000 is going to take us through the end of the year.
That's correct.
What's it going to cost us next year?
It'll cost us, I don't know what the employee amount was, but it was that plus the 700-something thousand or more based on if we have the testing in place and people are moving up.
So we don't have a clue what it's going to cost us until
Not at this point.
So how are we going to budget this?
Well, we'll have to figure that out between now and the time that we pass a budget.
I agree with that.
So we're not to the budgeting part yet. So that's something that we'll have to look at. One of the things we can do is we can budget up to a certain amount, even though it may not be used. And that way you don't, that's one of the options to look at it, is funding up to the maximum amount for a grade or up to the next grade. Because we know that if someone moves up, they'll only jump up one step. And so if you fund all of them up to the next step, then if someone moves up, that money's already there. If people don't move up, then that money comes back into the general fund, back into the road department fund. It's done the same way that the sheriff's office does it, if that helps.
Kinda.
Well, I mean, you voted for that, so
Yeah.
I thought maybe you understood that.
Well, I did vote for it, and I'm aware of the way it works, and it's okay, because it's working. And he's already got a built-in automatic raises. His percentage is already in there. It's not in this package. So, and a lot of I've heard is this here ain't right, but let's just get it in the road department's hands and they'll straighten it out. I mean, how are they going to do it? We're going to give them an open checkbook? That's kind of what it sounds like.
No, Willie, we're not giving them an open checkbook.
Okay.
Yes, Mom.
JP Hires, then JP Wilson, then JP Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that JP Lemming might have just answered the question that I had, but let me clarify to make sure. So when this is implemented, there will be immediate raises. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That is correct. Okay, because that was something I didn't understand, and I was afraid we were removing COVID bonuses and then saying that there wouldn't be any change from now to the end of the year, and so I didn't understand how that would be beneficial. The other thing I wanted to ask a question about was something that came up in one of the budget committee meetings was that that there was a clause of some sort that led to if there was a federal cost of living raise, that was just automatic. Is that correct? Can someone explain that?
Sorry,
a little bit
Sam,
more?
I've had a question asked. Say that again.
So in one of the committee meetings, there was talk about there was a federal cost of living clause, and that so if there's a federal cost of living raise, that would just be immediately implemented with the roads department. And I wanted to know if that is, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Thank you. Yes, considering the fact that we will no longer be under the standard salary program that we are now, whatever the federal standard cost of living allowance that the federal, states at the beginning of each year, that would be implemented into the salary program that we have.
Okay.
So if they come out and say there's a 2.7%, cost of living increase, then the range of salaries across the board from the bottom to the top would go up that 2.7%.
Okay.
Because generally what happens is, as the salary standard is now, say the cost of living goes up, 3% or 2.7%, and then when the Quorum Court votes on the salary ranges and they come in, like a 3% raise, sometimes we hit the bottom of the cost of living, and sometimes our raise still brings us below what the cost of living is. So with this, we would be automatically with the federal standard.
Okay. Thank you.
And to answer one other question about the, let's see, it was about the testing and not the testing, but the budgeting. Between now and January, what we will do is we will sit down with every employee, and whenever we start the budget cycle, we will know what the employee is based upon their training off the training program. And every individual will know where they need to be at and whether or not they will be available for a promotion for the 2023 budget. So between June and whenever we start the budget cycle, we will know every employee will either be moving to a new grade, and we will budget that when we turn in our budget to the Budget Finance Committee. Some employees will not, even if they do not promote at the beginning of the year, based upon the testing and all, it will still be budgeted. So anytime throughout that year that they make it and make that grade advancement, they're budgeted for it. One thing that this program does is locks the employee into that position, into that grade for 2 years. So once they promote, we know they will not be eligible for promotion for another 2 years. So that helps us with our budgeting every year. So we'll know which employee we have to increase in that line item or that slot. So it's not that we don't know. We will know come budget time and how much money to put into that part of the budget.
JP Hires, were your questions answered there? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Crowder. JP Wilson.
Mr. Crowder could stay, please. It has been my understanding that the COVID money bonus that we adopted earlier in the year was only good for this year, and that it would expire at the end of this year if we don't do anything. Is that correct?
If not sooner.
Okay, if not sooner. At a committee meeting, I had asked if anyone would go backwards by adopting what we're looking at now. And at that time, my understanding was that nobody would go backwards.
Right.
So that we passed a $2 increase for all of these employees earlier in the year, they would retain that $2 and in some cases get a little bit more when we implement this program. Is that correct?
No, I believe that was the bill
Okay.
or the
So,
ordinance you passed.
you know, with
yes.
the mechanics that J.P. Deacons asked us to adopt tonight, it's a matter of shifting from one program to the other program so that the $2 is retained, and in some cases, some people would get a little bit more. So I think that, you know, it's important for us to move forward for this so that we take care of these employees and we make an orderly transition to the new program that they've worked so hard on. So that's what I wanted to make sure that what I understood earlier was still the case, that they would retain, nobody goes backwards.
Nobody in the program will go backwards based
Everybody
upon their
retains the-
hourly rate. The COVID bonus is exactly what it is. It's a COVID bonus.
Temporary
Our
bonus.
intentions in writing this salary program was not, it was this body that decided that if we implement this, to take out the COVID bonus.
Right.
It was not our intentions to take out the COVID bonus.
Right. And-
This, and when you look at it, and we sat down with every employee last week and had meetings at the road department and explained if they had any questions they could, you know, ask. And I will explain like I explained it to them. We're asking this body to implement $707,000 into our salary budget. From now to the end of the year, the COVID money is basically $240,000, just roughly, if you take all of our employees and the COVID money. So if you take the $707 that we're asking for to be injected into our budget, minus the $240 if you take away the COVID money, that still leaves almost $500,000 that is going additional to the road department. So we are still $500,000 to the good. So, I mean, that's numbers. Yes, we would like to retain the COVID bonus money. That would be great. But if this body feels that to implement this, it should go back. We shouldn't receive it. I understand that the enforcement side of the sheriff's department doesn't receive this bonus. The detention side does. We're not asking anything that hasn't already been passed and approved through this body. We're asking the opportunity for the road department to move out of the salary and enter into this new program so our employees can excel and they can see a way forward to make more money.
I just had wanted to make sure that my earlier understanding was correct, that everybody was going to retain the $2 and in some cases get a little bit more than that as we transition.
My
from one
understanding
to
is the $2 is the premium pay. Is that not correct?
Well.
So if we do away with the COVID premium pay to implement this, then no, the retention of the $2 will not remain. But the retention of the $2
Some people would go backwards if we implement this. Is that what you're saying?
What
now?
we based off of was what the raise that was set, the bottom dollar went up to 3%, and we raised the bottom to $14.97, $95, something like that. So that's where we started out. So the hourly amount that everybody would make has gone up. Now the money that people receive monthly because of the bonus, they very well may see a reduction.
So they will not stay even.
But I guarantee you they will see a reduction once the money's gone, because that bonus money will not be there. So if we don't do anything, they're still going to have a reduction once the COVID money runs out.
So the new plan does not pick up the $2 and add to it, is what you're saying now?
In some cases, the individuals, based upon their years of service, yes, adds to it. Some of the people that haven't been there as long, they may not. I would have to go through it line item by line item.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I would like to withdraw my yes vote on the amendment to remove the COVID pay with the introduction of this program. Or a motion to reconsider. Ms. Meyer, will you take the vote? And the vote will be to reconsider the amendment to remove COVID pay with the implementation of this program. JP Ecke.
Thank you. The COVID bonus money, according to Treasurer Hill, will run out. Do we have a specific time? Is it going to run out by September? Is it going to run out by this year or next year? Do we know when the bonus money is going to run out?
I don't know. I thought the bonus money was budgeted this year for the full year. If that's not correct, I'm unaware of that. That would probably be a better question for him.
Mr. Hill. So we have it appropriated for the rest of to the end of the year, correct?
That was my understanding when we appropriated it.
All right, so the money's already there. I'll be voting in favor to reconsider that they keep that bonus money through the end of the year.
Ms. Meyer, please take the vote. And this will be to reconsider, so this would be to, a no vote would be to not have the amendment on, to remove the COVID funding. I'll have Chief of Staff restate that for us.
Okay, so it's a motion to reconsider the amendment. Okay, so if you vote yes, you're voting to reconsider. So we'll have it back up. The vote will come back up for the amendment. If it passes, that we vote to reconsider. If the votes are in the negative, then we cannot reconsider, and that amendment will stay. So in order to remove the amendment, you would need to vote in favor of reconsideration. It will prompt us to have another vote on the amendment once again that we've already voted on. Does everybody have any questions on that?
I withdraw my motion and make a new motion to remove the amendment. Do I hear a second? And a second by JP Pond. Any discussion? Ms. Meyer, will you please take the roll?
Shannon Marty. Sean Simons. Bill Ustry. Patrick Deakins. Lisa Ecke. Sam Duncan. Chandra Washington. Eva Madison. Robert Dennis. Suki Hires. Evelyn Rio Stafford. Willie Lemming. Jim Wilson. Bitch Pond. Lance Johnson.
The motion passes, so the ordinance is back to as written, 13.1, and COVID pay will continue if this item 13.1 passes, and we will need a motion on this. Do I hear a motion to pass? There's a motion to pass by JP Pond and a second by JP Ecke, and we'll continue discussion in JP Madison.
So I think all of this discussion about the COVID bonuses compared to these raises tells me that the raises that are proposed for the road department in this permanent plan are not enough. Because my understanding was that we were making a great effort to pull the people off the bottom. And if all we've done is raise the lowest pay rate to just shy of $15 an hour, that's $31,000 a year, and that is just not enough. I tend to agree with JP Lemming that those people that are operating graders need to be competitive with the market, and the private market is clearly paying those folks $20 an hour and up. And so all of this discussion about that the $2 an hour COVID bonus was higher than what people are getting with the permanent, then this needs to go back to the drawing board, because that is not what our intention was. And I think from the discussion and the questions, a lot of the people voting on this tonight don't have a clue what we're voting on. We don't have it in front of us, so we don't have the benefit of seeing it, but we don't know if there's a percentage raise. We don't know. I mean, if a 50-year employee is getting 74 cents an hour, then that's a huge difference from the COVID bonus. So the COVID bonus will have to go away. That money will go away. And so I don't know why we're in such a hurry, because to me, if we leave the COVID bonuses in place, then that sounds like the best temporary solution. And then when they go away, then we can be ready with the right plan that ensures that the person that's been working at the road department for 50 years gets a little bit more than 74 cents. Because when the COVID bonuses go away, that person is going to lose $1.25 an hour. And for people that don't make that much money, that's a lot of money. I'm sorry, the whole point of this was to make sure that people basically make above the poverty level. And we're not doing a good job by our road department employees if all we've managed to do is raise them up to $15 an hour. So it's very clear to me that validation, legal issues or not, we have not pulled up the bottom enough on this. And we need to press pause. We need to let the COVID bonuses stay in effect for as long as we think we can afford it, and figure out the way to give the people at the bottom more to make it a decent living, so that you don't have to go out and, go work for APAC or something because they pay so much better. It's just abundantly clear to me now, because eventually the COVID bonuses will go away. We've kept them in place now, at least temporarily, but that money's going to dry out, and people are going to find themselves earning less. And that's not right. That's not what we intended.
JP Johnson, then JP Dennis.
I think I'm one of the few people in this room that lived through the 70s and was a young man raising a family in the 70s. And inflation in the 70s got to 14%. We're halfway there now. And I hear all kinds of people complaining about it today. We got to quit talking about COVID bonuses, and we got to start talking about, let's go back to where we were pre-COVID and get on with this life. Because if anybody enjoys what a tank of gas costs them today, wait till it costs twice that much, and wait till you stand in line 4 hours to get to the pump to find out there's no gas. That's real. That happened in this country. I passed every income goal and got bigger raises than I ever planned on throughout the 70s, and we lived payday to payday for 10 years. So bonusing isn't the answer. We got to go back to where we were pre-COVID.
JP Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A lot of people will say later on, y'all sure do fight a lot on Quorum Court. I don't see it as fighting. I see it as discussing. And I'm glad that we're discussing, because I think everybody up here is interested in taking care of the employees, all employees. I'm going to use the whistleblower word here and say that I had a whistleblower call me and said that they've been with, now I'll make up the numbers. I'll change it a little bit, because I know you can go and figure out anything, but if you get too much information. 14 years, and still we're not making a decent wage. And so I thought about, well, I need to look into it a little bit. So Benton County hired a third-party study about their wages for their county employees. The answer came back that they were grossly below market on paying their employees. And we are behind Benton County. And so it's not only the road department, it's the other people in the different departments are grossly underpaid according to market. And I know that we have to work on one step at a time, but if we don't discuss things like this openly, then we never will get to a solution or get to an answer. Those on the bottom are making way too little, way too little. You know, when you say $14.95 and they even propose that we change the minimum wage to 15, when you make so little money that you don't qualify to even take care of children because the state says you don't make enough money, you can't take care of a child, and won't even let people for the county be foster parents because they make so little money. And it's shameful. And I apologize to you guys. You should have been making a lot more money a lot sooner. And those on the bottom do need to be making more than they need to make more than $14.95 when they're hired. I paid a Lance will like this one. I paid a carpenter $35 an hour to come trim my remodel out. And I thought, my gosh, I didn't go back to work because I didn't ever make that kind of money. But, we need to be responsible and take care of it, whether it's through Johansson or through a third party or through ourselves. We got to get the raises up where people can make a living. Thank you.
Thank you, J.P. Dennis. J.P. Lemming, you've reached your speaking limit on this ordinance. If there's no further discussion, and I think J.P. Ecke, you've spoken twice as well. J.P. Ecke.
Thank you. Mr. Crowder, is this a good program?
It is a good program.
Roads Department guys, do you all want us to pass it or table it? Pass it. Thank you.
J.P. Rio Stafford.
I move to amend the rules and let J.P. Lemming speak a third time.
Withdraw your motion. Okay. Public comment.
Can I take this time as public comment as well? We worked hard on this program. We started back in November working on this program, and I will be one of the first to admit that it does have some parts in it that does need to be some improvement. This is new ground. I hope that this program is the flagship for other counties to start utilizing this program to benefit their employees as well. As you can see behind me, that we let the employees know that they had any time that to come up to this meeting, better speak, and know there will be no retaliation if anybody speaks against this. I stand here on record to let everyone of y'all know that as director of the road department. If they're for the program, they're for the program. If they're against the program, they're against the program. Like I said, we worked hard on this program. I don't, if I'm wrong, I stand corrected. I don't have the paperwork in front of me. I apologize, but I don't believe any employee, if this program is implemented, will be making $14.95 an hour. That is the entry level for somebody that has no equipment skills whatsoever. And they will only be at that level for 6 months if they're hired on at the county. This program will also allow us to hire somebody that has 15 or 20 years experience, 10 years, doesn't matter how many years experience, but they will be injected into the payroll system based upon their skill set that they bring to the table with verifiable background checks into their employment history. That allows us to hire experienced operators instead of trying to get experienced operators in here for $14.95 an hour, which you will never get an experienced operator. I agree with J.P. Lemming that our operators out there, our grader operators, are our most seen employee out there. Everybody drives up and down dirt roads, and believe me, the calls that we get in every day, multiple calls about the roads being potholed out and the grading, is one of our most calls that we get. Those operators are just as important as any other operator out there, I believe. as far as the employees go. I can sit up here all night and talk about, I wrote a lot of the program. We borrowed a lot of the program from the military, and that program has been tested. This isn't an untested program. The training has been implemented through the military for many years. So the training program is a true and tested program that will help every employee succeed. These operators, these employees that we have, they'll have the chance to move forward. They'll see where they're going to be in 10 years from now. Right now, we have a certain amount of slots
Thank you, Mr.
available.
Crowder. You're at time there.
Yeah, thank you.
Please state your name and where you're from.
My name is Tyler Reisner. I'm from Morrow, and I'm speaking on behalf of the road department. I've been with the road department for less than 1 year. I currently work with the bridge department for concrete. And after exploring the opportunity of the Step Up program, I believe that it is a great benefit. Not only for the fact that I have less than, say, an hour and a half on some equipment, but I have the opportunity to be trained on the equipment to exceed my pay raise. Now, granted, you're right, we do need to make more money. This is an opportunity to make more money for everybody. You can't go in here and say that I don't know how to run an equipment, so I'm gonna make less. But you have the opportunity to be trained to acquire more money. And that's what a lot of, from my personal preference being in this quorum court, that a lot of quorum court members are not seeing, that we have the opportunity to make more money. Yes, we have to take classes. Yes, we have to pass tests. That's with anywhere you go. I've been doing concrete for 8+ years, and there's not a place that I have not worked that you do not have to implement in some kind of training, in some kind of class to exceed a pay raise. I believe that this is a good benefit. I believe that this will benefit the road department very well, and I ask for myself and for my brothers behind me that you guys pass this clause tonight so that we're able to make a living and succeed as members of Washington County employees. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tyler. Public comment.
My name is Brian Shoemate. I live on White House Road in District 12. And Tyler, that was good, but I've been there almost a decade now, and I can operate multiple machinery, trucks, stuff like that. Today I spent half the day flagging traffic. So I'm gonna be one of the people that's gonna be there for the younger guys, the non-experienced guys, to help them move up, to help them pass tests. I'm gonna be there for them. But I've got over 20 years experience driving a truck. I can leave tomorrow and make 25, 30 bucks an hour. But I choose to work here because I like this county. I like the people. But I'm the kind of people that you're voting for tonight if you pass it. We want it. We need it. It's going to help our families. I got kids in college. You know, inflation's going up. The COVID bonus is great, yes. It is going to expire. This is permanent. It's going to help us out a lot. We'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Public comment. We have a motion on the floor by JP Ecke and a second by JP Dennis to pass item number 13.1. Ms. Meyer, will you please call the roll?
Sean Simons? Bill Estrie? Patrick Deakins? Lisa Ecke? Sam Duncan?
Yes.
Chandra Washington? Eva Madison. Robert Dennis. Suki Hires. Evelyn Rio Stafford. Willie Lemming. Jim Wilson. Butch Pond. Lance Johnson. Pass.
Item 13.1 passes. We will take about a minute break and allow the crowd to thin out if they so choose.
I think you might have misunderstood me. I want more. That's what I want more for. I want to. Come on, computer.
Ready now?
And I've noticed more. So there are more of them that are popping in. I think it was just Black Hills.
I'm still wired to the systems. Well, I can hear it. That's better. That took way too long, didn't it? Yes, how do people? He doesn't know what site he's on. Yeah, you helped. You know, I took that dessert home. I'm gonna have to take one of them home every night. Do you know? Votes first. Whoever was and you have to press the thing, and then it takes just a moment. So just click over, and then you will be good to go. Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
We'll resume quorum court meeting here. And we are back to item that was really written as item number 9 on the agenda, the first item under new business. Council, will you please read that by title only?
Item 9 is an ordinance on its first reading tonight. It's an ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Board for the Motor City CUP.
JP Deacons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This passed through Planning Board, and I've received no citizen comments or pushback on this. I'd like to suspend the rules and move this to the second reading.
There's a motion by JP Deacons and a second by JP Lemming to suspend the rules and move to second reading. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Council.
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Board for Motor City CUP.
JP Deacons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to suspend the rules and move this to the third and final reading.
Do I hear a second? There's a motion on the floor to suspend the rules and move to third and final reading by JP Deacons and a second by JP Lemming. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
An ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Board for Motor City CUP.
Do I hear any discussion by the quorum court?
I make a motion we pass conditional use permit.
There's been a motion to pass the CUP, item number 9, and a second by JP Lemming. Any discussion now? Seeing none, I will open it up to public comment. Seeing none, Ms. Myra.
Shannon Marty. Sean Simons. Bill Usry. Patrick Deakins. Lisa Ecke. Sam Duncan. Chandra Washington. Eva Madison. Robert Dennis. Suki Hires. Evelyn Rio Stafford. Willie Lemming. Jim Wilson. Butch Pond. Lance Johnson.
The Motor City CUP passes. On to item number 10. Council, you mind reading that by title only?
Item 10 is a resolution of the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas, expressing appreciation to the Arkansas Coalition of Marshallese, Arkansas Immigrant Defense, Arkansas United, the Hispanic Women's Organization of Arkansas, the Marshallese Educational Initiative, and Rooted Northwest Arkansas for their service and dedication to the community.
JP Washington.
Thank you, JP Duncan. So this resolution is to honor and to recognize our community partners who acted outside their usual scope of practice, and they provided much needed COVID relief to our underserved communities and to those who had pre-existing disparities. So I just wanted to take an opportunity as a county to recognize them for the work that they did. They did things that other organizations were not able to do. And they were able to do that because they had positioned themselves as organizations that were trustworthy. They gained the trust of their community. They were able to mobilize very quickly. They did not have to use a lot of time to strategize. They literally jumped in and did what other community partners were not able to do. And as a result of that, we have a lot of people whose lives literally were saved during COVID. Some of the things are listed here in the resolution, and I'll just highlight a few of them. They implemented bilingual community health workers, so they were able to get people out to talk to people in those communities about COVID. They were able to coordinate vaccination clinics. They were able to do widespread testing. They were able to distribute PPE. They were able to provide food response and relief to the communities that they served. And so I just believe that we should give credit where credit is due, and that we definitely need to recognize these partners who went above and beyond and definitely outside the scope of their practice to provide much needed COVID relief in Washington County.
Is there a motion? I'm sorry.
So having said that, I move that we pass item 10.
There's a motion by JP Washington and a second by JP Rio Stafford. And I will now open up the floor to discussion. JP Simons and JP Dennis.
Thank you, Chair. JP Washington, thank you for bringing this before the court. Admittedly, I'm only familiar with several of these organizations, and I'd like very much to hear what some of these other organizations are about, what their normal scope of practice is, and what they did during COVID. I've asked Dr. Brown with the Marshallese Education Initiative, who I am familiar with, and the work that she does, to come up here tonight to tell a little bit about what they did, how they assisted the county specifically. I saw former JP Judith Yanez with Rooted Northwest Arkansas. I would love for her, if she's prepared, to come and tell us a little bit about what she did. My only concern is I'm sure there's a ton more organizations that should be included in this resolution, and I would love to see them added. So maybe we need to pump the brakes and see if we could get a comprehensive list together of every organization and make sure everyone's recognized that meets these parameters.
Is there a motion with that, or just a comment?
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we is it postpone, not table, postpone until next month so that we get some time to see if there's any other nonprofits that we can vet that meet these parameters to include them as well, and take tonight's time to recognize and hear from some of the nonprofits on this list that are here and hear the work that they do.
Very good. So there's a motion to postpone until May. Is there a second? Second by JP Ussery. Any discussion on the motion to postpone?
Yes.
JP Washington.
So, I understand wanting to include everyone, but I would offer this, that whenever I was out in the community doing my own volunteering with COVID, working at vaccination clinics and all of that, the people that we saw were ACOM. The people that we saw were Rooted. The people that we saw were Arkansas United. And so if we're going to consider these other organizations and the other members of this body saw those organizations, then I'm not understanding why now we need to look back in retrospect and say, oh, let's include everybody. These organizations, once again, you're talking about ACOM, whose mission is to empower the Marshallese community through culturally sensitive programs towards education. Their scope is education. And we're talking about them distributing food, not only distributing food, but actually securing food, actually going out in the community, working with other community partners saying, hey, we have people here who need food. We have people who need these resources. They're not able to get them. They went above and beyond. When you talk about some of the other organizations like Arkansas United or even the Arkansas Immigrant Defense, their scope of practice is advocacy. But they were out delivering food. They were out making sure that people got vaccinated. They were making sure that people had masks and that people had hand sanitizer and different things like that. And I don't understand the rationale, because if we want to do an additional resolution, we can always do an additional resolution for all of those people. But we have these community partners who are present here tonight, and I honestly think it's disrespectful and even quite tacky in their presence to say, oh, let's wait and you can come back next time. They're here and they need to be recognized. And just like I did a resolution to honor them, if we have other community partners that we want to recognize, we can all do that too. So I would hope that that this body would not vote to postpone this. I don't believe that at our core we're that type of county, but if we do pass an amendment to postpone this, it's speaking volumes how we think about these other organizations.
JP Dennis and then JP Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to say kind of the same thing. I'd like to hear. I mean, Judith is JP, is here. I'd like to hear from her about her organization. I don't know who the others are. I will say I've never seen it grouped together like this. But I recognize her and wanted to say I'd like to hear her. So that's what I had to say. Thank you.
JP Madison and then JP Lemming.
I was just going to say that choosing to not recognize people who are here tonight because we think we might want to recognize somebody else just strikes me as really odd. This is just a resolution thanking the people, and they're here tonight. So let's just do this, you guys, not make it so complicated.
JP Lemming.
Well, I just want to say I thank everybody for doing what they do, and I may be wrong, but I heard that there's one of these groups that is suing the county. And if that's the truth, I don't know why I'd want to pat them on the back for suing the county. Is that true or not true? So it is true.
Arkansas United does have a federal lawsuit against the county right now.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. Thank you.
JP Washington.
Thank you, JP Duncan. Okay, let me see how to say this. A few months ago, we had a resolution before this body to offer someone who was providing exceptional care to the inmates of Washington County. At that time, there was active litigation against that person, but the members of this body said, we need to look at this resolution at face value. We need to look at the merits of this resolution. So I'm not understanding why we can't look at this resolution at face value. The truth of the matter is these organizations did what the county couldn't or wouldn't do. That's the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is when we were needing to do vaccination clinics, there was such a level of mistrust that people from the county, people from the health department that were sent in to help, nobody wanted their help because they didn't trust them. And for us to sit here and offer all of these reasons about why we shouldn't do what we do at face value, these people literally saved lives. The reason that Tyson Chicken was able to remain open was because these community partners were out there getting people tested and getting them vaccinated. The reason that we didn't see any more additional deaths in these communities was because of the work that these organizations did. Now, we can split hairs about all of these other things, but at face value, this says that we just want to recognize these community partners who acted outside their regular scope of practice. That's not hard. That's not difficult. And once again, I believe at the core that we want to recognize our partners. And I'm just speechless right now.
JP Pond.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to take a little bit of issue with, and I'm very concerned about individuals suing government in order to get some kind of political gain. I'm going to remember and recognize that this individual that we complimented and encouraged for the job that he did as a contractor at the jail was not trying to sue the county. And I also want to recognize there's some very fine individuals and groups in this list. And I can't find myself thinking that it was okay and let's get on with it, that some other groups who are actually suing the county have been lumped into this. So at this time, unless I hear a little more than I have so far, I will probably be inclined, because I simply cannot vote no on some of these folks that I know did a very fine job. But I can't vote yes when they've listed people in here among you that are actually in the process of suing the county. And so at the risk of being called a coward, I'm probably going to abstain. Like I said, I don't want to vote no against people that I knew did a good job, and I don't want to vote yes. I have a little bit of a problem with, like I said, with people suing government for their own personal agenda, their own personal gain, or their own kind of politics they want. Thank you.
Thank you, JP Pond. In JP Pond's sentiment as well, I will also be abstaining in light of the lawsuit that's been brought against the county. I'm obviously grateful for the nonprofits who have served. With that, we have a motion on the floor to postpone until the May Quorum Court meeting from JP Simons, a second by JP Ussery. Any further discussion? JP Ussery.
Just because we want to postpone this doesn't mean we don't want to hear the people that are here tonight. they would certainly like to hear what they say and get a start on this. And so once we voted on this, we'd certainly like to hear what they have to say.
Ms. Meyer, we please take the roll.
Shannon Marty,
It's a motion to postpone until the May Quorum Court meeting. It did by JP Ostry.
Sean Simons, Bill Usry, Patrick Deakins, Lisa Ecke, Sam Duncan, Chandra Washington, Eva Madison, Robert Dennis, Suki Hires, Evelyn Rio Stafford, Willie Lemming, Jim Wilson, Butch Pond, Lance Johnson, passes on the postponement.
Item number 10 has been postponed to the May Quorum Court meeting. Item number 11 on the agenda is the consent agenda. Council, will you please read those by title only?
Item 1 on the consent agenda is an ordinance recognizing additional revenue of $76,355.74 in the general fund and appropriating $76,355.74 from the general fund to the DEM budget for 2022. Item 2 is an ordinance reducing the amount of $238,726 from line items in various county budgets and restoring those funds to unappropriated reserves and appropriating the total amount of $596,127 from unappropriated reserves to various budget line items for 2021. Item 3 is an ordinance appropriating $100,000 from the county library fund to municipal library funding line item in the county library budget for 2022. Item 4 is an ordinance appropriating $14,664.44 from the unappropriated reserves in the general fund to the District Court of Fayetteville budget for 2022. Item 5 is an ordinance recognizing additional revenue of $500 in the Rural Community Grant Fund and appropriating $500 from the Rural Community Grant Fund to the Evansville Fire Department budget for 2022.
Do we need discussion on that?
No, you'll have to have a motion, yeah, and then there'll be discussion in the public.
Do I hear a motion to pass the consent agenda? A motion by JP Deakins and a second by JP Ecke. Any discussion? Public comment? Oh, I'm sorry, JP Lemming.
Brian may know, do you know what the $302,000 was in the reported cost? What is that cost, do you know?
Which line item are you talking about?
Well, that, on the, I'd have to dig it up, but it said on the back there, it was, 300 and some thousand. Was it 12? No, it was, it's, what's, the difference between 238 to 596 was 300 and some $1,000, and I've just wondered what the recorder treasurer was doing with that difference.
I don't recall.
You don't recall?
Sorry.
Well, I got it in a mess, but 11-2.
I believe, though, that's a housekeeping ordinance to finalize and clean up and clear up the books from 2021. And so I think some of those are related to grants. But I think Comptroller Worthen spoke about it at one of the meetings possibly where it was discussed. I don't remember off the top of my head exactly what that was.
Yeah, it says recorder cost, 3006, $332,474. I'm just wondering what that was, but you don't know.
I think our circuit clerk can help explain that.
I had the same question when I was looking over the packet earlier, and I contacted the treasurer. That's carryover from the 2021 budget in the recorder's cost to come into the
That was
the
extra
general
money
fund.
he had to bring back, or? why
No,
are
that
we
was
put-
money we didn't spend.
Money you had spent,
Did not spend.
did not spend.
That was money we had budgeted for last year that we did not spend, and
Okay.
so it rolls over into county general.
Okay, so okay. Sounds good, thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll open up to public comment. Seeing none, Ms. Myra, please take the roll. This will be to vote on the consent agenda.
Shannon Marty. Sean Simons. Bill Usry. Patrick Deakins. Lisa Ecke. Sam Duncan. Chandra Washington. Eva Madison. Robert Dennis. Suki Hires. Evelyn Rios Stafford. Willie Lemming. Jim Wilson. Butch Pond. Lance Johnson. Pass.
And the consent agenda passes on to item number 12. It's an ordinance appropriating $348,000 and $348,050 from the American Rescue Plan Act Fund 3046 to various line items in the American Rescue Plan Act budget for 2022. JP Deakins.
I move we pass item number 12.
Motion to pass, number 12 by JP Deakins, a second by JP Ecke. Open up to discussion. Seeing none, I'll open up to public comment.
Hello, my name is Beth Koger. I live in Fayetteville, Arkansas. So just so that I understand this, I just sat here and watched you just vote against recognizing these people who came tonight, who worked to save lives in the community. And they did that without any assistance from the county. But you're going to spend this ARPA money, almost $350,000 of ARPA money, which these people could have really used and which could be used in the community for the circuit clerk's office. I have no problem with redoing the circuit clerk's office, but it should come from county money. It should come from the reserves that we have. We have lots of money. We don't have to spend ARPA money on this. And I want to apologize to the people who came tonight that they've been treated like this.
Any other public comment?
Hi, Sarah Moore, Fayetteville. It's really disheartening to be before you having this conversation right now. So often since November of 2020, we've had conversations in regard to CARES money, American Rescue Plan money. I hope that while I'm talking to you, I'll be able to make eye contact with each of my JPs as I'm speaking with you tonight. I know it's getting to be late in the evening. But these individuals over the last couple of years have had limited assistance for, and I'm speaking about Rooted, I'm speaking about AID, I'm speaking about Marshallese Education Initiative and ACOM. They've gone above and beyond, working 7 days a week quite often, scrapping things together, doing GoFundMes to be able to get resources to their communities. They've waited and waited for their elected leaders to help take care of their communities. As that stated, J.P. Washington, you so eloquently put, these are disproportionately impacted parts of our community, generationally have experienced severe poverty, severe health inequities that these monies are particularly for. We have waited patiently, as you have instructed us to do in the community, for you to come up with a plan to assist us with funds from CARES that we are sitting on reserves now on our big pile of money that can't house or feed or take care of our community. And tonight, all we wanted to do was simply thank them for their efforts. It wasn't controversial, it was a thank you. We can thank every organization we want to across this county, and we should, especially if folks due to no help from the county so far and no process to non-governmental organizations. But you know, we can write that. We're still sitting on our big pile of American Rescue Plan money. We can still think about and talk to Northwest Arkansas Economic Development like the chair has spoken to. We can still put a process in place. And, you know, I think actions speak so much louder than words. And so I would love to see you guys talk about and put an ordinance forward to get an application process in place, because honestly, these organizations would probably rather have some funds to reimburse them for all their efforts so they can continue to help the community. That's the way we can truly thank them. So I would really encourage us, instead of spending this money on something like a jail expansion that harms our community, let's take these dollars and let's put them somewhere where they can heal and they can help our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comment? Seeing none, we are voting on item number 12. Ms. Meyer, will you please call the roll?
Shannon Marty. Yes. Sean Simons. Yes. Bill Usry. Yes. Patrick Deakins. Yes. Lisa Ecke. Yes. Sam Duncan. Yes. Chandra Washington. No. Eva Madison. No. Robert Dennis. Abstain. Suki Hires. No. Evelyn Rio Stafford. Abstain. Willie Lemming. Jim Wilson. Yes. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Lance Johnson.
Yes.
Item number 12, we'll move on to a second reading at the May Quorum Court meeting. Item number 13, as we all know, is passed. Item number 14, Council, do you read that, please?
Item 14 is a resolution of the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas, appointing Jason Kyle Oberlag to solemnize the wedding of Catherine Delaney Carter, our center, and Garrett Clifton Owens on June the 11th, 2022 in Washington County, Arkansas.
JP Simons.
Thank you, Chair. I've got Mr. Oberlag here, and I would ask that he come up and kind of tell us a little bit about what they're hoping to do. Thank you for being here, bud.
Hello, this has been super intense tonight, goodness. My name is Jason Oberlag, and I live in Bentonville, so not Fayetteville, but my stepdaughter, Delaney Center, and her fiance, Garrett Owens, are getting married June 11th at White River Landing over on Schaefer, and they've asked me to officiate their wedding. So I am not a minister. And so instead of going through the whole online thing, I have a friend, Joel Jones, who's Justice of the Peace in Benton County, referred me to Sean, that he could help us out to where I didn't have to go through all that. So I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. We're good? All that? No questions? Just one question. Sure. Oh, perfect. Thank you, ma'am.
JP Ecke.
Oh, absolutely. He's a great kid.
Do you approve of the groom?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
JP Simons.
I'd like to make a motion that we pass item number 14.
Motion to approve item number 14, a second by, I think, everyone, but was it Dennis? Any further discussion from the court? Seeing none, any public comment?
Good, thank you so much. Appreciate it, thanks.
Seeing none, Ms. Meyer, will you please call the question on item number 14?
Shannon Marty. Sean Simons. Bill Usry. Patrick Deakins. Lisa Ecke. Sam Duncan. Chandra Washington. Eva Madison. Robert Dennis. Suki Hires. Evelyn Rio Stafford. Willie Lemming. Jim Wilson. Butch Pond. Lance Johnson. That would be a pass.
Item number 14 passes. On to item number 15. Council.
Item 15 is a resolution of the Quorum Court of Washington County, Arkansas, to express its appreciation to child care providers in Washington County and across the country.
JP Simons.
Thank you, Chair. So May 6th is National Child Care Provider Appreciation Day, and I know Judge Wood is planning on making a proclamation recognizing that day, and I just wanted to bring a resolution forward to recognize that day. I've also asked Ms. Michelle Wynn with Child Care Aware of NWA to come and tell us some of the work that she does in helping families get connected to childcare.
So there's just make a motion with that.
Yes, I make a motion that we pass this after hearing from Ms. Michelle Wynn.
Motion by JP Simons, second by JP Ussery. I'm not sure procedurally, but
Okay. Good evening. Hi, I'm Michelle Wynn, and I'm with the Child Care Aware Office. We're a resource here in the community, helping families find child care, providing parent education, and training for early educators. We serve over 17 counties. Child care providers are essential to our community. We need our providers so families can go back to work. So we've heard a lot tonight. It sounds like about the pandemic. Our providers didn't close during the pandemic. They stayed open. We worked with them to get them supplies to help families go to work too. So anything we can do to recognize our early childhood providers is very important for our community. And again, we need them to help us go back to work and to support them here in the community. Thank you.
thank you so much. JP Madison and then JP Hires.
So I'm really concerned that this resolution is not inclusive enough of all the possible organizations that could be included among child care providers. So I would like to propose an amendment that we add, in addition to those who care for children under the age of 6, all teachers in K through 12 schools, counselors, administrators, support staff, janitors, PE teachers, people who work with special needs children. And then while we're at it, Mother's and Father's Day are coming up. So why don't we just add all moms and dads that also provide childcare, that worked really hard during the pandemic to make sure that children had care? Because if we're going to be inclusive and make sure that everybody that is in Washington County gets recognized, let's make sure that we cover every single child care provider and not leave anybody out. Because if we think we're going to leave somebody out, we might need to postpone it until next month. So I make a motion that we add to the resolution that everybody who cares for any child under the age of 18 that lives in Washington County also be recognized.
There's a motion. Do I hear a second? And a second by JP Rios Stafford. So we will vote on the motion to amend and add to item number 15 all child care individuals for children under 18. Ms. Myra, please call the roll.
Shannon Marty.
There's a motion to amend to add a provision to include all child care providers in Washington County. That's what's being voted on.
Sean Simons. Bill Ussery. Patrick Deakins. Lisa Ecke. Sam Duncan. Chandra Washington. Eva Madison. Robert Dennis. Suki Hires. Evelyn Rios Stafford. Willie Lemming. Jim Wilson. Butch Pond. Lance Johnson.
The amendment fails. Back to the original motion. Any further discussion? JP Rios Stafford.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm glad to see some of my colleagues finally coming around to supporting childcare and affordable childcare, because for a year and a half now, over a year and a half now, we, some of us who are in the minority on this quorum court, have tried to use the CARES Act money for affordable childcare and gotten voted down. We've tried to use the American Rescue Plan money to support affordable childcare in this county and gotten voted down. I even tried to make a motion to last year amend the pro-life ordinance when we were voting on that to say that the county supports affordable childcare, and that got voted down too. So I'll be very interested to see the folks who voted against all those things vote for this. So I'll be watching how my colleagues vote, because I think that there's a bit of hypocrisy in this. I'm going to support this resolution because I've supported all the others all along. But I think that rather than just passing resolutions, we also need to put our money where our mouth is and actually truly support child care providers in this county and support affordable child care and get working families back to work, get working moms back to work, which is going to help increase the economic prosperity of this county by actually using some of our federal funds that are supposed to be set aside for things like this and use them to actually support affordable child care in a monetary way and not just pass a resolution that's words on a page. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Public comment.
Is this on? Yeah, okay. Judith Yanez, Springdale, Arkansas. I have to take a moment with all you guys right now because we are community leaders that are highly valued in our community, and this Quorum Court just disrespected us. And I'm not sure if you know what you just did. Childcare is one of the issues that now we have to focus on because we understand the needs that happened during COVID. My work was not childcare, my work was not health, my work was education. Because of the trust that we had in the community, now we're being asked to look at our mission and strategize on the needs, housing, transportation, education, and health, because we're trusted in the community. But apparently this Quorum Court does not understand seeking solutions for community, and it's based on politics, it's based on whatever you're doing. You could have easily amended that resolution. You've done it all the time, and that's the part that saddens me. What makes us different from all the people that did go out and supported COVID, now we're being asked to do a lot more in our community. Rearrange our mission, figure out what the community needs, what did we learn from COVID? That is the huge difference right now. And we're being placed to solve housing issues. We're being placed to solve transportation issues because of our understanding of community. And as politicians, for you guys just shutting us down right now, sends a strong signal that you're not in tune to this community and only in tune to people that fit your own perspective. When it comes to childcare, you cannot celebrate childcare unless you're speaking about all the issues that come with childcare. I think Michelle could probably speak on the waiting list that exists. As a single mom that went to school to earn a bachelor's and a master's, I would have not been able to do that without resources that provided me childcare. These are issues for our community, but you guys are tone deaf on them. And it saddens me that we were disrespected tonight because I'm not sure how this Quorum Court can solve issues. So I would highly think about that because it's really, really saddening. And thank you, JP Washington. I know this was not the resolution that I was supposed to speak on. But when it comes to childcare, transportation, overcrowding in the jail, guys, there's a correlation between all of it that you guys are missing the point. And it's saddening. But the mistake you did tonight was disrespected people that are sitting here. We don't have time to come back in May, guys. We have a lot of work to do. You disrespected us, and we're highly honored and respected in this community, but not by this body. So thank you for those that voted against postponing this. We honor you and respect you.
Any additional public comment?
My name is Dawn Cannon, and I live in Washington County. I am not a politician. However, I am running for Justice of the Peace by accident because after attending a few of these meetings and seeing how everything is very bipartisan, I am not a Republican. I am not a Democrat. I do not fit in a box. I am filed as to run as a Democrat for the office I am running for. And to be honest, after sitting here this entire meeting and watching how adults, I'm assuming you are all of age to be an adult by definition, it is embarrassing as a human on this earth, in this county, that you individuals look other individuals in the eyes, that you're supposed to be a team and a puzzle to help this county. And you don't help the county when you sit in your boxes and you point fingers with the words you're using and disrespect the people that are in this county, that are not politicians, that are doing things. I tried to take emotions out of my words. I apologize if my words came across with a lot of emotions. I do appreciate you, but I'm very, for lack of an adjective, I'm very distraught at how the 15 pieces of the puzzle that I'm sitting in front of cannot come together in that puzzle right there in the front of us. That map is a puzzle that each of you were voted on by people that live in that puzzle. However, when y'all talk amongst yourselves and in front of this community that is on TV, for the few people that are watching, unfortunately, a lot of people don't even know what Justice of the Peace do, what Quorum Court means. It is embarrassing, and one of the reasons they don't know what it means and what they do is because that puzzle is not working as a puzzle. Whether you're Republicans, which seem to be that sit on one side, and there's Democrats that sit by on accident where the pieces of the puzzle and people vote in that dot. I would just like to say thank you for listening to me, and I appreciate the county that I live in.
Any additional public comment?
Hello, my name is Beth Koger. I live at 3661 Embry Drive in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I just want to say that when we talk about, a while ago when it was mentioned about the people who sue the government, you know, sometimes people have to sue the government because that's the only way we can protect our rights. And that's what the Constitution is all about. So you shouldn't hold that against anyone. Sometimes that's what we have to do as citizens for justice.
Any additional public comment? Ms. Meyer, will you please call the question on item number 15?
Shannon Marty. Sean Simons. Bill Essery. Patrick Deakins. Lisa Ecke. Sam Duncan. Chandra Washington. Eva Madison. Robert Dennis. Suki Hires. Evelyn Rio Stafford. Willie Lemming. Jim Wilson. Butch Pond. Lance Johnson.
Item number 15 passes, and we have a ordinance that was added to the agenda, item number 16. I believe it was J.P. Deacon's ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an ordinance appropriating $14,000 from the communication fund for the Sheriff's Department. They need to buy a new server that houses their video equipment. They've repaired it, patched it. It's unrepairable now. This is a time-sensitive thing, so I'm sorry to bring this to the meeting. I always hate to do that, but they need to go ahead and get this underway. So I move passage of this item.
There's a motion by J.P. Deakins, a second by J.P. Ecke, and council is going to read this one.
An ordinance appropriating $14,000 from the unappropriated reserves in the communication Facility Equipment Fund to the Communication Facility Equipment Budget for 2022.
Discussion from the court. Public comment. Ms. Meyer, please take the roll on item number 16, the communications ordinance brought by J.P. Deakins.
Shannon Marty. Sean Simons. Bill Usry. Patrick Deakins. Lisa Ecke. Sam Duncan. Chandra Washington. Eva Madison. Robert Dennis. Suki Hires. Evelyn Rios Stafford. Willie Lemming. Jim Wilson. Butch Pond. Lance Johnson. Pass.
Item number 16 passes. The committee reports are in your packet. If you have any questions, please reach out to the chair. The meeting is adjourned.